Welcome back to another episode of Heartland Huddle, Chiefs, Lions, and NFL Talk. I'm Eric Willard, joined alongside my co-host Xavier. X, how you doing, man? Fun day of football.
I'm good, man. Great day of football, man. Good
yeah,
time.
I know you're happy. Would the Lions just drop 52 on the Tennessee Titans?
52 points. It was kind of rocky, a little shaky at first. First drive, 3 and out. Which it seems like they have a trend of that happening almost every single game where they'll go 3 and out on the first drive, but they get it together and they just have a field day with these defenses. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're going to jump into all of it. This is this is reaction to Sunday, as both teams, of course, improved. The Chiefs improved to 7-0. The Lions, of course, improved their record to 6-1. But before we get to that, like I said, if you're just joining us or, this is your first time tuning in to our podcast, my name's Eric. This is my co-host Xavier. This is Heartland Huddle, Chiefs, Lions, and NFL Talk. You can catch us every week on Saturday with our predictions and reactions episodes. You can search for us on YouTube at Heartland NFL Talk. You can also catch my monologue series every Wednesday at the same channel at Heartland NFL Talk. So, hey, we kind of opened up to it, X. I'm going to let you have the floor. Hey, 52 on a Sunday afternoon. You're playing Tennessee. They traded their boy DeAndre Hopkins over to the Chiefs this past week, so we had him in action today. So DeAndre Hopkins less, Tennessee Titans team, and Detroit comes out and just rolls them. Talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you something, though. They did do that. But Calvin Ridley had a day. I mean,
I did.
He was just shredding the defense, but it only lasted for so long. It didn't take long. That's why you look at quarterbacks, especially a backup quarterback like Mason Rudolph, who spent the most of his career in Pittsburgh. You wonder. Well, you don't wonder. You can clearly see why they're backup quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think going into any game, when you're a top-tier team like Detroit and you're going into a game where they're playing a backup quarterback, you expect to win that game. It's almost guaranteed that you win that game if you know your team is really, good enough. And so Mason Rudolph, he was doing okay, but he threw a couple of interceptions, threw the game off, and the Lions, the Lions offense, I mean, can't say enough about them. They take advantage of those mistakes that you make. You know what I'm saying? And Jared Goff, he had a couple of fumbles, didn't have a lot of passing yards, only had 85 passing yards, but he had three passing touchdowns. So, I mean, the run game was in full effect. Jahmyr Gibbs, I know you was happy about Jahmyr Gibbs' 70-yard touchdown.
Fantasy
run.
purposes for the people that don't know.
What'd you get, like 88 points just off of that one play alone?
About
Sam
15.
Laporta had a day. He's
finally,
he's been quiet the first five or six games or whatever, but he's coming around, and I think everybody knows, the offenses do that sometimes. You'll have one of your top tier players, whether it's a tight end or the wide receiver, they may be quiet for a few games, but eventually they'll get rolling. You know what I'm saying? It's just all predicated on the defenses that you're playing. And the person I really want to give the most credit to is Ben Johnson. He's taken out a top-tier defense last weekend with the Brian Flores defense, which is a top-tier defense. Then you take out the Tennessee Titans defense this weekend, which was the number one ranked defense. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what Detroit Lions did for their
overall
stats, but
statistically,
they were ranked number one. And Ben Johnson is just showing that, hey, I'm great at this, and I got the offense to do it. So, I mean, not too much I can say about the Lions. Hell of a win. I think the tougher part of our schedule is about to come around. But great win. It was like almost nothing that they couldn't do, except for Goff just didn't have a whole lot of passing yards. But he didn't really need to pass the ball when you got the offensive line and the run game that you have. So
Yeah,
that's what I say
yeah,
about
I
today.
completely agree. I think the biggest thing with me for the Lions today was the balanced attack. Now, we always talk about everything starts up front for the Lions with that two-headed monster, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and your guys' offensive line, the best offensive line in football. And that's where it starts and that's where it ends for the Lions. But in between,
Yeah,
maybe quarters two and three, in between, there's this balanced attack. I mean, looking at some of the stats, like you said, Sam Laporta, 6 catches, 48 yards, had a touchdown, caught a long catch of 24 yards. Big day by both the Lions and the Chiefs tight end, by the way. We'll talk about Travis Kelce coming up in his Big
yeah,
10 catch day finally. But Laporta was 6
yeah.
catches, 48 yards. You had Amon-Ra St. Brown, 2 catches for 7 yards, but still had the big touchdown there. Jahmyr Gibbs had a catch. In the rushing game, Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 carries for 127 yards, and you alluded to it, that big 70-yard run Jahmyr Gibbs had down that left sideline that set the Lions up
Yep.
early as well. David Montgomery, another 9 totes, 33 yards and a touchdown. So you're just looking at Gibbs with the touchdown, Montgomery with the touchdown, Amon-Ra with the touchdown, Sam Laporta, your other tight end, Brock Mitchell with the touchdown. So it was such
Brock
a
Wright.
balanced. Yeah, Brock Wright, excuse me. And it was such a balanced attack that I liken it to like an NBA basketball team. When everybody has 16 to 22 points on your team, everybody's assisting,
Yeah.
everybody's, of course, throwing oops, scoring, passing, the whole nine. And when you have a balanced attack like that, you can attack in all phases and areas. I mean, then we can speak to Ben Johnson. And gosh, the last 3 coaching cycles the last 2 coaching cycles he's been up for head coaching candidates. He said publicly, privately, hey, I want to stay here. I want to win a Super Bowl with Detroit. And each game, it's like he gets better and better and better calling the plays.
He could see it coming. That was like a blessing for him to just be like, hey, you know what? Let me not be so quick to jump into this head coaching role. I feel like I have unfinished business here. Although I know these other organizations think that I'm great, but let me show you how great I really am before I actually exit out of the door of Detroit and take on this massive head coaching job. Because some coaches, they'll leave a great situation, go be a head coach, and they only get that 1 year being a head coach, and then they're never a head coach again in their career. You know what I mean? So I think it's a brilliant move by him. You know what I'm saying? Take your time, continue to learn, continue to feel the NFL out, and continue to finish what you helped start in Detroit. So that's what I say.
Yeah, and then, I completely agree with that. And Ben Johnson, I think a lot of those times, to your point about when you take on more responsibility as a head coach, a lot of times we see offensive play callers or defensive play callers become head coaches, but then they have to turn those duties over to a different guy, a different personnel, because they just don't have the time or the time to prepare that throughout the week, also being the head coach. We saw it with Andy Reid, actually, in Philadelphia when he was not only, he was an assistant GM, he was also head of player personnel, and he was the head coach, and he was the offensive coordinator, and he got a bit burned out.
Yeah.
He comes to Kansas City, and he just gets to be the OC, essentially, and the head coach, and that's what he leaves everything else to Veach. So, but no, turning it to the other side of the ball, tell me what you saw with the defense. Shaky early, like always, and then turns it over. Tell me what you saw.
Yeah, that's really been their game. The beginning, it's almost like they have to take the bumps and bruises early, and then slowly but for surely, Aaron Glenn gets them on track to where they're getting the turnovers, they're getting the 3 and outs. Terrion Arnold having a big pass breakup, Carlton Davis having a big pass breakup, Kirby Joseph with the interception. He did it so smooth too. Like he just jumped the route so phenomenal.
Yeah, he did.
Brian Branch having a hell of a pass breakup. He also had a flag to a pass interference too. But
quickly becoming one of the best defensive backs in all of football, Brian Branch.
In all of football, and I'll say he'll be there by I don't know by the end of the season for sure. He'll be ranked definitely in the top 5 of that list or whatever. So, but yeah, the defense, it seems like they're getting it. They're doing a great job, I think, without Aiden Hutchinson, but you still need a elite pass rusher. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, well, this has to be the week. This has to be the week because trade deadlines is up on the 5th of
Next
November.
Friday.
So.
Yeah, next Friday. So we've got this last week of October here, and the next week would be the trade deadline, November, beginning of next week, really. Yeah, so.
Yeah, you got to do it this week.
Yeah.
I know Brad Holmes. I heard he's been shaking the phones. He's been contacting organizations. He's been doing this, doing that. We may get somebody from Tennessee. Never know. Tennessee actually they got a great defense. They have some really, really good pass rushers, and they were getting the golf a lot, especially in the first quarter and half of the second quarter maybe, and then they just cleaned it up with the run game. You know what I'm saying? Once you get that run game started, it's hard to stop it. So, yeah. But no, good job though. With the defense in general, they still only held them to 14 points. You know what I'm saying? Although they let a lot of passing yards go, I think at the end is what matters. They still only holding teams to 20 points less, which is their average. So,
yeah, and to that point, I think you hit the nail on the head there. To that point, Detroit gives up 416 yards, but they turn over the Titans 4 times, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, which you had alluded to. Now, Detroit, on the flip side of that, gains 225 yards on offense. Jared Goff, 12 of 15 for 85 yards, but the 3 big touchdowns. And so we talk about it all the time, Xavier, that there's meaningless stats in sports. You know me, I like to try to contextualize with stats, but I always try to look at those nuances of that eye test and what do they say, what do we see, and different things like that. But looking at some of these numbers, 200-something plus yards to 416, if somebody were to tell me that, I'd say, wow, Tennessee had a big day. But, you lost 52-14. A lot of those yards came in garbage time. You have the 4 turnovers. I believe in the red zone, Tennessee goes 2 for 4, so they're 50%, when, of course, Detroit goes 5 for 5 at 100%. So there's the difference. We know in today's NFL, it's taking care of the football. And when you can do that effectively, now we've seen Jared Goff. I've harped on it on here. We've got all sorts of people that have harped on Jared Goff about it, but Jared Goff, when he's not turning over the football, which he doesn't that often, the Lions are they become that much tougher to beat because we know their offensive prowess. They're not going to give your team extra possessions. The Lions are going to be scoring. And then on defense, I don't want to say they're just doing just enough. They're doing more than just enough, but it's enough. We've talked about it. With an offense like that, Xavier, you don't have to have a top 8 or 5 defense in the league. Give me a top 14 defense with the team putting up 40 points a game, and we can go win Super Bowls.
With the top 1 or 2 offense to go with that.
Exactly.
You can make it anywhere,
You can win some Super Bowls. Don't turn the ball over, decent defense, and, of course, a high-powered offense. You can go win Super Bowls. So, overall, I think great day for the Lions. I don't believe there were any injuries or anything like that of major concern. I didn't see anything that would warrant I don't know if anybody went out or anything of that nature. But
but I do want to say prayers up for Josh Paschal. He didn't play this game, and they never announced why. He had cancer in college, right? And he beat cancer in college. A lot of people don't know that. And, and I think it was starting to come back a little bit. So he took off this week. He asked the organization to take off this week so he can go get himself checked out to make sure that, because I think he was feeling a little like he could probably start to feel it coming again or something like that. So I think he went to go get himself checked out just to make sure he was okay. So, prayers up to him. But
well said, well said. I mean, we never won, and that'll be a common theme throughout our podcast and show here on Heartland Huddle NFL Talk. Heartland Huddle, Chiefs, Lions, and NFL Talk. We never wish ill will. Prayers up to anybody going through something like that. Now, Detroit, just to finish up, Xavier, that Detroit talk a little bit. Detroit improves to 6-1 in the division. The Packers are sitting at 6-2. The Vikings at 5-2, and the Chicago Bears at 4-3 after the tough loss we just saw on the Hail Mary to Jaden Daniels and those Washington Commanders. So sitting at 6-1, you've already passed the bye. You've got a nice little lead already. You're opening up a lead there in the NFC North. What I believe is the toughest division in football, that NFC North. Where do you see it going forward? Any losses down the road? What's that North division after Week 8 looking like for you?
It's looking good. I'm not gonna lie, man. I was sitting there watching the Green Bay game. I was watching the Green Bay game, hoping for a loss. They almost blew it too. And Jordan Love actually got hurt in that game, and he had to come out, and the Willis kid ended up finishing the game. But I was actually rooting for a loss, but they ended up pulling through with the win. And I was only thinking that, or rooting for that, only because if they would have lost, we'd have been that much further ahead. Even though we have the number one spot right now, it's not meaning a whole lot because you want to be 2 or 3 games up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Only being 1 game up, it's cool, it's great. You know what I'm saying? It's just the Detroit Lions. It's just it's their job to keep it. You know what I'm saying? And not lose it. Just hold on to it as much as you can. Which we see Green Bay next week anyway in Lambeau. So, and I think as far as the NFC North goes, those will be our toughest games this season. I think the rest of our NFC North games, the San Francisco game, and probably the Buffalo Bills game, I believe those 5 games out of our next 10 games will be our toughest games for the rest of the season. So,
great preview there, kind of walking into next week and beyond. I mean, I not just the Packers. It's in Lambeau this next week, but after that you go to Houston. So 2 road games in a row here. Green Bay, Houston Texans. Texans keep winning. I know it hasn't looked pretty. I know it hasn't looked like what we all thought this year. I mean, we predicted them to win. We predicted them to probably be the runners-up in the AFC. However, they've won a lot of close ball games. C.J. Stroud continues to ball. Stephon Diggs goes down with a leg injury today. Looked like non-contact. Hopefully, once again, for fantasy purposes, he's back, but who knows? But if you don't have Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins is still nursing that hamstring injury. I, of course, like Detroit in that Texans game, but hey, it is the NFL. Anything can happen. It's on the road. I like a DeMeco Ryans coached defense there. I think they would be able to slow down Detroit's defense Detroit's offense a little bit. However, I still like them.
It's a lot of teams that think they can slow down Detroit's offense a little bit.
Well, I know one. I know one that can.
We see time and time again that it's just not true. But hey, you never know. It's any given Sunday.
Hey, I love the confidence. I mean, you have to have confidence. You're right. It's any given Sunday. It's the Detroit Lions. I might remind you the Detroit Lions have never appeared in a Super Bowl before. I'll just leave that there. But great segue into the other half of this podcast. Oh, go take it away. Take it away. You're good. No, you're good.
No. I was just going to say, 1A, 1B of the best team in the NFL right now. So
we can agree on that. Hey, we can agree on that. No, we can agree on that. And I think with Detroit, that's the thing about Detroit is I don't think there's anybody in the NFC that truly scares you. I mean, really, even in an NFC championship game, there's nobody that you say, oh, gosh, man, we have a real shot of losing this. I think, A, Detroit has to beat themselves, which they're proving they're not doing. And then, B, I think you would have to have some sort of poor coaching decision, much like we saw in the playoffs last year as well. And that's not a slight or a dig. Yeah. It's just me saying that the only people who can really beat Detroit at this point, the only people who can really beat Detroit at this point are the Lions, right? I mean, that's a good problem to have. That's a good problem to have. So, no, Detroit, once again, they improved to 6-1, first place in that tough NFC North division, big divisional matchup against Green Bay here this next week. Flipping sides, Xavier, do you know the definition of undefeated?
Yes, that means no losses on the season. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs.
No losses on the season. I'm going to give you the Webster Dictionary definition. Undefeated. It's an adjective, not defeated, especially in a battle or other contest. That's right! We're battle-tested, Xavier! We don't lose. Did you see
Not
the puppet
really.
in the
I mean-
offseason? Did you see the puppet in the offseason? The defensive back? I don't even know his name. That's how irrelevant he is. He's talking with the Kermit the Frog puppet on Mahomes during training camp. Did you see Max Crosby on his podcast, The Edge? Shout out to another great podcast, actually, Max Crosby. Tune into ours, Heartland Huddle, and Chiefs, Lions, and NFL Talk. But did you see Max Crosby and their head coach, Antonio Pierce? Oh, we've got the Jordan rules when it comes to Mahomes. We've got all this different stuff. Bring it. We're going to start beating him consistently. Blah, 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 blah. And what happens? We have won more games. The Chiefs have won more games inside their stadium than they have, including a Super Bowl this last year. Undefeated, 7-0. The Kansas City Chiefs, they beat the Raiders, and they get it done. Now, nail biter, it was one of those typical classic Chiefs games to where we can't just win. The only game that we were able to win relatively easily, so to speak, was the Saints game this year. And we just cruised, and I loved it. I was sipping margaritas on that Sunday afternoon, and I loved it. I could sit back and relax. But we are back to winning another close one. But, yeah, the Chiefs get it done today. They improved to 7-0, played the Las Vegas Raiders, of course, if you couldn't tell. What did you like? What did you see? Where did you see the Chiefs?
I like Chris Jones. Chris Jones, his name was called a lot during this game.
Yep.
Him and what's his name? George Karlaftis. Is that his name? George Karlaftis, linebacker.
Yep.
Yeah. I think they made the game. You know, I think to me personally, I believe they won the game. The offense still. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, man. I think when you're considered to be great, you're going to show it week in and week out, even if it's him speaking on himself and it's never going to be to his satisfaction. You know what I'm saying? We know that, which is a great thing to have. Only great players, great athletes think like that. But my thoughts on it is really not a whole lot. They just rolling through guys. Although, you know, you look at the Raiders, man, they're just not a good team. I mean, they could be a good team, but they're not a good team. You know, they're just not a good team. So, and I'm not going to say the old cliche thing is y'all haven't played anybody. No, NFL team is an NFL team. Everybody has the ability to put their talent together on their team to build a winning organization. And if you're not doing it, that's just simply your fault. So, but shout out to Patrick Mahomes and them Chiefs, man. They just rolling through the season right now. Will they have a hiccup? It's any given Sunday. Only time will tell. But right now, they just rolling, man. 7-0. That's hard as hell to do, and especially in this day and age, man. With all the elite talent that you do have in the NFL, it's just hard to do. And Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo, and Chris Jones, man, y'all. That's it. Y'all got what you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To keep winning.
Yeah.
So,
7-0. As you had mentioned, 13-0 dating back to last Christmas, right, including the playoffs last year. So ties the Chiefs franchise record. Yeah, ties the Chiefs franchise record, 13 straight wins. Obviously, we picked up against the win against the Raiders. And going back to kind of what you said, how the Raiders just aren't a good team, and that's true. We had mentioned DeAndre Hopkins being traded this past week from Tennessee over to Kansas City. Pleasantly surprised. They said he essentially slept at the facility this week, trying to learn this playbook, learn this Andy Reid playbook, and establish some rapport with, of course, Patrick Mahomes. And, hey, I'll take it, right? 2 catches, 29 yards. He had a long catch of 16 yards on 3 targets. And I think if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, this is what you can sort of do. Xavier, as guys get hurt, you can work guys in and you can still, of course, win ball games. And that's my thing with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's what I've tried telling people the last couple of years. You want to talk about sleepwalking and rolling through the competition. That's the beauty of it. Xavier, this is what I think the Kansas City Chiefs do. They play so many close games. They win a lot of one-score games. Well, why? Because I think they know when it comes playoff times, we're not going to have our top playmakers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashee Rice, and, of course, Hollywood Brown getting hurt before the season. Now, what the Kansas City Chiefs can do, we can try 2 and 3 tight end sets. Noah Gray, Jody Fortson. Side note, he got hurt today on that onside kick. And Travis Kelce. When your offense is being funneled through Noah Gray, how many games are you going to win? Well, the Chiefs still do it. But then, so they're experimenting is what I'm trying to say, right? The Chiefs are experimenting quarters 1 through 3. The game's a little tight. Andy Reid and Patrick are, what can we do? Who's going to step up? Who's going to catch the football? And then fourth quarter turns around. It's 3rd and 3. Patrick Mahomes scrambles for 25 yards or makes a winning football play. And that's what they say, forget that experimentation for the last 3 quarters. It's time to go win. And that's what the Chiefs do. And I think that's what makes them so scary is the fact that throughout the course of 18 weeks, 17 games, they can experiment and they can sit there and say, this is what works. This is what doesn't. Our defense is elite. You bring in a guy like Kareem Hunt, and all he does is look like the 2017, 2018 Kareem Hunt when he was first drafted by the Chiefs. And so it just makes them scary. We're getting some guys back healthy. People forget Charles Omenihu will be coming back here in a few weeks for the Chiefs as well, coming off of that ACL tear last year. And so the Chiefs are going to get healthy. DeAndre Hopkins is going to get worked in, and I really liked it. The biggest story, though, today, my man, Travis Kelce, 10 catches, 90 yards, and a tutty. That's a sigh from Chiefs Kingdom. That's a sigh from Chiefs Kingdom. He showed up today, and it was refreshing. What did you see from old Kelce?
I've seen Kelce being Kelce. I mean,
yeah,
he's I don't know, man. I always wondered, man, like, how does he do it? He just runs a bunch of U routes. It's just a U route. Stand there, catch it. U route is either he's going to go to the left or he's going to spin to the right. And he's just there. And it's like so many people to worry about on offense is like how do you just not have somebody stuck with him? You know what I'm saying? But in all actuality, it's just based off of elite talent, elite offense. You can't just put that one person on him and expect them to slow him down. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just think Kelce being Kelce, man. It's like his focus was there. He's dialed in, and I think he's dialed in every single game. I just think it just got to a point now to where he may not be that guy every single game like he generally is. You know what I'm saying? So
except for the playoffs.
Except for the playoffs, yeah. But yeah, I think he just today was just that day. You know what I'm saying? For him to get off. Will it be like that the next game? Maybe not. Maybe so. You just never know. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's getting to that point to where you get some defensive coordinators who can keep up with it, and then you're going to run into some that just can't. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much film study they put in front of they defense, or no matter what you're telling them or what you think you know, some things and some tight ends and receivers are just hard to stop. They're just hard to slow down no matter what. So but Kelce was just being Kelce, man.
Yeah, no, he absolutely was. And it's good to see him and Mahomes back on the same page a little bit. Mahomes, had a big day, 262 yards, had 2 touchdowns and an interception. The interception on the deflected pass wasn't a bad decision. It was on the deflected pass. But that leads me right into our defensive effort too, Xavier. The deflected pass, the guy, the linebacker, the safety, for the Raiders, returns it back to the Chiefs' 2 or 3 yard line, and all the Chiefs defense come on the field and they get the huge 4 down stand on defense and give the ball right back with actually even better field position than what Pat Mahomes had it in the first place on the previous drive. So this team is just incredibly, incredibly tough. What do you need to win football games in the NFL, Xavier? Well, you need an elite quarterback. Check. You need an elite head coach. Check. We have the very best of both of those. And then what's the other thing? You need a good defense. I would argue a great defense, but you need a good defense.
A great defense,
Check.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
And when you look over, I just heard the broadcast today, which was phenomenal. Patrick Mahomes now against the AFC West, 32 and 5. On the road in the AFC West, he's 19 and 1.
That's
Right,
crazy.
and why is that? Like I said, the experimentation, the competitiveness, the head coaching and the scheming of Andy Reid, the eliteness and the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, and then you've got a defense that can just go in and, of course, stuff. Still haven't given up more than 20 points this season. Kansas City, you want to talk about a team that doesn't force a lot of takeaways. They just get off the field on third downs, right? They just don't let you drive down their throat. A bit surprising watching Gardner Minshew do that. But they just, when it's time to, it's championship football is what I'm trying to say. You mentioned Chris Jones. It's just championship level football. So all around, great day by Kansas City to improve to 7-0. Looking ahead there, I was nervous about the Tampa Bay game. Monday night, this next week, Monday Night Football in Arrowhead, GEHA Field for Kansas City. I was nervous about Tampa Bay. Kind of talk about Tampa Bay and Chris Godwin. Mike Evans.
Well, there is no Chris Godwin or Mike Evans.
Exactly.
They're out. So,
yeah.
I mean, and Tampa Bay actually played a good game today. They just couldn't do enough to come up with the win against Atlanta. They just made some plays. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember the exact stats of that game, but I remember watching. Baker Mayfield was fighting. He was fighting with what he had, and they were doing good. But they just couldn't cross that finish line. Atlanta came through with the win in the end. So, yeah, I think that'll be a good game. I think for Kansas City, you should just expect that Baker Mayfield is going to play his ass off no matter what he has. So,
Absolutely.
Will Kansas City still get the win? Probably so. You know what I mean? But just know that it won't be an easy win. They're going to make you earn that win. So, I'll say that. Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue, of course, transition into one of our favorite segments where, we just kind of go around the NFL. It's called End Zone Insights, brought to you by absolutely nobody, but we will take anybody. Hit us up. Let us know. Once again, guys, I'm Eric. This is my co-host, Xavier. This is the Heartland Huddle, Chiefs, Lions, and NFL Talk. You can catch us every week on our YouTube channel at Heartland NFL Talk. You can also catch my monologue series every Wednesday where I sort of contextualize the iconic culture of Kansas City and the Chiefs on the same YouTube channel. Now, going into our End Zone Insight segment, let's start it off. Hail Mary. I try to say them every day, right? Xavier, but Hail Mary. Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders went on a Hail Mary over Caleb Williams, the other rookie, the number one pick.
Yeah.
What a game, huh?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Hell of a game, slow game, not a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just one of them games down to the wire. They got the ball 23 seconds. Hail Mary, tip ball. But like the commentator said, I forget exactly. Oh, it's Tony Romo.
Yeah.
You keep somebody in the front on the goal line, and then you keep somebody in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? Behind the crowd. You keep somebody in front of the crowd, somebody behind the crowd. So if that ball get tipped, it's either going to get tipped forward or it's going to get tipped backward. And I'll be damned, it got tipped right into
perfectly to him. Perfectly to him.
Perfect. And you got the defenders turning around. They like, what? Yeah, hey, it happens, man. It happens. It
does.
You know?
It
does.
Hell
of a game.
And isn't it amazing, Xavier? These guys are grown men playing in the NFL, have been coached since the beginning of time, right? And all they do, of course, is they mess up on plays like that. It still blows my mind that stuff like that happens. They either don't bat it down or a guy doesn't catch it. Boom, there's the Hail Mary. The Commanders win. And, of course, they improve that record in the NFC East. A few other teams in action, that were pretty fun. I hate doing it because all the national TV broadcast and talking heads and, of course, networks talk about them. But the New York Jets fall to the New England Patriots 25-22. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. What?
Everybody thought they were going to the Super Bowl playoff. I never thought that. Never thought that. You're talking about a 40-year-old guy who does not have it anymore. He's showing you that he does not have it anymore. That team carried no value, man. They did all of that. He completely took over the organization. They did every single thing that he asked them to, and he can't get to a third win to save his life. So
And
he'll be all right.
they just traded for his boy Devontae Adams from the Raiders. They just
That's what I'm
traded for
saying.
his boy.
That's
You
what I'm
know,
saying.
it's
They're giving him every single thing that he wanted, everything he wanted, and you can't get 3 wins.
yeah,
Come on, man.
yeah.
Worthless.
Doing no better than when you were a Zach Wilson-led football team, and all he does is talk. All they do is talk, and here you are sitting
Same
at 2-5
results.
through 7 weeks. Yeah, and it's disappointing. I mean, you're losing to a Patriots team that has no business being on the same field as you. Just talking about some of the talent that you have on your team. But, yeah, the New York Jets, they lose 25-22 to the Patriots on the road in New England, and just an embarrassing contest there. And all you're doing is letting the Buffalo Bills run away with that AFC East division. Everybody thought it was going to be close. I know Tua got hurt, obviously. We don't know where Miami would be at if he hadn't got hurt. Made his debut actually this week, not his debut, but made his return, this week. But one of the other games I wanted to review, too, in our End Zone Insights segment, big win. And I think the second toughest division in football, that AFC North, the Browns get it done. The Browns get it done. My boy, Jameis, Shameless Winston, boy, 29-24. Yeah.
You know what
Browns
that was?
What?
That was just him being a veteran, man. Him sitting back watching him being a veteran. He knows what he's doing. You know, of course, early in his career was rocky. He was up and down. You know what I mean? Then he bounced around a little bit, but that was just that veteran presence on the offense. You know what I'm saying? And he made a mistake. He threw an interception, and he got to the sideline. I remember them showing him, and he was like, "That was my fault. I shouldn't have never did that. That was my fault." And
would Deshaun Watson do that?
Hell no. And he came back and fought and won that game, man, against Baltimore. Yeah, he came back and fought and won that game, man. He had Cleveland rocking today. I give Jameis Winston, he should be the player of the week this week for sure.
And all he does, X, comes in 27 of 41, 334 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he played good.
Now, I want to turn it over to the other side. Lamar Jackson, your guy, your boy. I've never advocated for him. I think he's supremely talented, on his way to winning a 3rd MVP, of course, this year. I'm tired of the Ravens talk, X. I'm tired of everybody anointing the Ravens in September and October. Stop it.
They always do that, though. They always do that. They always put them on this pedestal. And you should wait at least to, the fourth quarter before you start placing these teams on these pedestals. You know what I'm saying? It's only 2 teams in the league.
January. You should wait until January.
It's only 2 teams that you can put on that pedestal right now, and I think that's Kansas City and Detroit. And the reason why I say Detroit is because from the beginning of the rebuild, they've been consistent with winning. They've just been consistent, just gradually growing and growing and growing and growing. And then you got damn near the whole nation predicting that they will make it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC this year. San Fran just basically won't stand a chance. So, but yeah, I'm with you on that. I didn't put the Jets on that pedestal. I'm not putting the Ravens on that pedestal because Lamar Jackson show you who he really is when it comes down to it. You in the AFC Championship, all of that hype stuff that you do throughout the season, you get to that one game and you leave in the house and you say, you know what? I'm going to leave my winning mentality here. I'm not going to even go to the game with that. I'm going to go into this game expecting to look. And that's the look that he has on his face. And it's like, you can see it. Even at the beginning of the game. First drive, the AFC Championship game, you can see it in his face. He like, man, I don't think I want to win this game. And that's just the vibe that he gives off. And, yeah, I'm with you, though. I'm not ever putting no team on a pedestal. Not even my own team. I'm not going to put them on that pedestal. I just want my team to make it back to the NFC Championship. You know what I'm saying? And then wherever it goes from there. You know what I'm saying? Which I think we're very well capable of doing. But, yeah, I'm with you. Other than that, I don't put him on no pedestal. But Jameis Winston, he is the player of the week this week. He did his damn thing this week.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick Chubb, 16 carries for 52 yards. Ravens side, Derrick Henry, only 11 carries. And you just have to wonder, Xavier, sometimes it's the way or the narrative that the ball game's gone, and we get that. That sometimes you have to get away from your original game plan. Sometimes you have to adapt and change, just dependent on the circumstances, injuries, whatever's happening in the ball games. But for Derrick Henry to be the NFL's leading rusher at 30 years old, and essentially the last 5 weeks has just absolutely crushed every team's defensive line, how do you only run him 11 times? That's the thing with Baltimore that flummoxes me, Xavier, is the fact that they treat Lamar Jackson and his ability like it is a Patrick Mahomes, like it is an Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay scenario, to where we're going to put all of this on Lamar's shoulders, which is great. A lot of times in the regular season, he's won a lot of ball games, but he's not the guy. He's not the guy in the critical situation when the world's on him and it's time to make a play to go, excuse me, that's not correct. When it's time to make a play in a critical spot in a high leverage, big stakes ball game. And today was just a preview of it. There's a reason why they got away from their game plan in the AFC Championship of running the ball last year. There's a reason why Derrick Henry only gets 11 carries. There's a reason why he misses wide open guys in the end zone. So I'm tired of the Baltimore talk. I'm tired of people saying, "Oh, everybody just talks crap on Lamar Jackson," and I'm also tired of everybody putting him up here with guys such as Mahomes, Josh Allen, and all these other quarterbacks. Excuse me. I'll put him on the same tier as Josh Allen. But it's just frustrating to me when we see this stuff time and time again, but then he'll scramble like Michael Vick and throw a ball downfield, and we'll say, "Oh, Lamar Jackson's the best thing since sliced bread." Well, guess what he doesn't have? Guess what he doesn't win? Rings. Anyway.
He may not ever win one.
There's my Lamar Jackson slander there. That about wraps up our End Zone Insight segment, and that about wraps up this episode of Heartland Huddle, Chiefs, Lions, and NFL Talk. Like I said, you can catch us every week on our YouTube channel at Heartland NFL Talk. You can catch my monologue series every Wednesday on the same YouTube channel, of course. I'm Eric. That's Xavier. Big week of football, fun week of football. The Lions improved to 6-1. The Chiefs, of course, to 7-0. We both like them in their upcoming matchups. Xavier, anything more?
No, man. Are you going to watch the Cowboys?
No, I'm going to carve a pumpkin with my wife and spend some quality time because I don't want to flush quality time down the drain watching those idiots. So absolutely not. Might be some background noise just to put me to sleep. But no, make sure everybody, you guys are liking and subscribing. It really helps Xavier and I to know, content ideas. It really helps us to know what you guys want to hear us discuss and talk about. So make sure you guys are hitting that like and subscribe button and commenting in the chat here. So other than that, we're out.
All right. See you later.